Hello and welcome, and thank you for joining this program. If you haven't met me, my name is Mio Turner. I created this course from drawing from my skills, my knowledge, and experience as a clinical hypnotherapist and an empowerment coach. But most importantly, I drew from my experience of someone that didn't manage my mindset, which resulted in me being completely out of control with my thoughts, my feelings, and my behaviors. Have you ever heard the term losing your shit? Well, I've done that multiple times, reacting to what was going on around me or what was happening to me because I wasn't well emotionally. And it was a bit like a slippery slope into a dark hole where I didn't want to be. Now, my healing journey has involved implementing a simple strategy of tools and techniques that I'm sharing with you over the next 5 weeks. And it continues to this day. And I'll speak a little bit more about how I got into this space and what resulted in me being so passionate about this program in particular. All right, so I recognize that you might be somewhere else on the spectrum of mental well-being and mindset wellness. And this program is designed for anyone in that space. So someone living their best life would benefit from this program, even through to somebody that's really struggling at the bottom of that dark hole that I just spoke about and have no idea how to get out of it. So wherever you are right now, the fact that you've chosen to tune in today is a massively empowered step. You're telling your subconscious mind that you want something better, and you've actually taken a huge action step to move towards that state. So well done. Like seriously, that is a big thing. Alrighty, so before we get started today, I recognize that some of you are probably coming from a really busy atmosphere. It might be the middle of the workday for you. It might be that you are a parent at home with kids that are noisy. So I'm just going to invite you, if you can, just to scan your room and notice if you're free of distractions, so that your mobile phone is off. Perhaps you need to close a door or close any apps that might ping with notifications on your laptop. I know for me, my email or my messenger has a way of distracting me when I'm doing things online. And so if that's your situation, just shut them down and do whatever you need to do to really be here in the present moment. Okay. And now that you've done that, I just want you to notice where you're at in your body and your mind. And just take a nice deep breath in to your belly. And bring yourself into the room, into this session. So having a transition into this moment and also in future sessions supports you being fully present in the moment. So as I said, if you've come from a busy atmosphere, sometimes it's a little gear change to come into the here and now, especially given that this is an online program. And if it feels right for you, just gently close your eyes for a moment and take some nice mindful breaths. So you might want to put your hand on your heart and feeling the rise of your chest, connecting in with your body, noticing any tension that you might have, not to judge it, but just to be mindful. And if you do feel any tension in your body, you can tell that body part just to relax. You can drop your shoulders, you can drop your jaw even. That's it. You're doing great. And if you've never done anything like this before, it might feel a little uncomfortable, but just know that it will get easier and easier every time you do this. So know that right now, no one needs anything of you. No one wants anything of you. This is your time. And that's a really nice thing to do for yourself. It's like honoring yourself in this moment. And your body and your mind prefers this state. So being present right here, right now, connecting to yourself in a way that feels right to you. And as I said, if there's a little bit of discomfort there, that's perfectly normal and fine as well. As we go through the next 5 weeks, that tension, that discomfort will gently release. Okay. You can open your eyes now and just notice that there's a change in your body and your mind. So it may only be minute, and that's great. So a minute shift is still a shift. Okay, beautiful. So now that you're nice and relaxed and focused as much as you can be in this moment, I'm going to share a little bit about my story and how I landed in this space. So if you haven't picked my accent yet, I am an Australian that's based in Aotearoa, New Zealand. And I'm many things. As I said, I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, I'm an empowerment coach, but I'm also a mum. I'm a single mum. So I have a lot of stress associated with doing that alone. I have also been a mum to Staffordshire Bull Terriers. They're my favourite dog. I had a beautiful one named Sunny who passed away last year and really broke my heart. So if you've done this program before, you would, or if you're connected to me on social media, you would see a lot of photos of her because she was such a huge part of my life. I'm a massive dog lover and a nature lover. And, I'm someone that's also experienced a lot of challenges in my life. So again, with the old version of this course, I would put up a few photos of myself and I can share that with you separately. But if you've seen my previous post, you would know that I walk on a walking stick, and that's as a result of having a bone tumor when I was 23 years old, and that nearly took my life. So I had to have a few major operations with that situation and had to learn to walk again. It's a pretty stressful time in my life. And as a result of that situation, I now walk with a walking stick, and I've had to learn to navigate a lot of challenges associated with that. But I just live my life and push those boundaries. For me, I don't see boundaries as something that's going to stop me living my best life. I just see it as something that I've got to navigate. So with that, I have done skydiving. I'm an advanced open water scuba diver. I love everything to do with the environment and particularly the underwater world that we've got available to us. And in fact, I'm planning to do my 100th dive in the next 6 months. And that's even though I'm recovering from fracturing my pelvis in July. So my focus is now on my vision. And we'll talk a little bit about the power of your focus and how it creates your reality over the next 5 weeks. But I expand a lot on my advanced courses. So if you're interested in going beyond this and really learning how to create the life that you want, then I can definitely take you through my more advanced courses with that. My background, if you're wondering, is in criminology. I've got a Bachelor of Arts and an honours in this field, and I've also taught in criminological concepts at Flinders University in South Australia, where I'm from. So I've delivered lectures and tutored third-year students in psychology, crime and the law. And I've got decades of experience working in fields where I've had to analyse behaviours in order to understand why people do what they do. And my interest in this field comes from having a brother who went to jail at the age of 17. So he was my older brother. And prior to going to adult jails, he was in and out of juvenile justice facilities. And unfortunately, his behaviour escalated. And he was tried as an adult at the age of 17 because of the seriousness of the crimes that he was involved in. He was sentenced to 14 years, in fact, and he served 7 of those in South Australia's hardest maximum security prisons. So it was pretty tricky as a child to watch my big brother, who I doted on, going through that experience. So I was raised with him and 2 other brothers by our mother, who was a single mum, and she did the best that she could with the limited resources that she had. So I'm the youngest of all the children. So my father and my mum separated when I was a toddler, and I only remember him as a sick and sad man after my mum threw him out after a huge argument when I was younger. And in fact, I still remember that. The trauma of that situation was captured in my mind, which is what happens when we're younger. Trauma gets captured like a photograph, and we have associated trauma that's linked to that. That can be undone, and I'll talk a little bit about that during the next 5 weeks as well, that, the healing around those traumas is imperative to also having a really good mindset. So unfortunately, my dad, he died of throat cancer when I was 13, so an incredibly hard time for me as a child. So I've got a pretty big range of challenges as a kid. And in fact, if you know anything about the Adverse Childhood Events Score, mine's a 6 out of 10. So it's not the highest, but it's definitely not the best. I've experienced a lot of situations that caused me anxiety and stress, but I didn't know it at the time. It was my normal, right? So fast forward a few years, as a teenager, I was a runaway, I was a drug user, and generally very rebellious. I felt very unloved as a teenager, like I didn't belong, and my heart was really hardened. I needed to protect myself from being hurt, and I didn't trust anybody. It was a very challenging time, not only for myself, but probably for the people around me. After I failed year 12, I got myself back on track. I got myself into some work, and I had a plan to get to university as a mature age student at the ripe age of 21. So it's crazy, isn't it, when you think mature age isn't 21, but it is to get into university if you've failed year 12 like I did. So then at 23, I was just 6 months shy of finishing my undergraduate degree. I was diagnosed with that life-threatening bone tumor, and my life changed dramatically. It really took a long time to get my life back into what was a new normal. So fast forward again, going through the life journey. In 2014, I decided to come and live in this beautiful country, Aotearoa, New Zealand. It's the land of the long white cloud. And that was challenging. And I really didn't know it was going to be as challenging as it actually was. So I came over here with a job ready to work for the police here, as my background is in criminology. But as I said, that transition was hard for several reasons. And I won't go into that now, but you've heard my story before. There was a range of different challenges going from my home country to a country that is quite different. And then in 2015, I got pregnant, which was a complete surprise, but it was a beautiful blessing. But at the same time, it caused a lot of anxiety in me, questioning whether I was ready to be a mother, whether I was just going to be a suitable mother. And so there was a lot of anxiety associated with that. And I had my beautiful boy at the end of that year and repeating my mother's pattern, living as a single mum. Okay. So it was hard doing it on my own. I was in a country that wasn't my own. My family were thousands of kilometres away in Adelaide, and I just cracked on and did the best I could. And when my son was 1, I returned to work part-time, and I struggled. I struggled with brain fog. I just couldn't cognitively think properly. I was massively sleep deprived because my son woke constantly during the middle of the night, needing a feed. I fed him on demand, and I was doing it alone. I had no break like doing that. So it's like the pressure was building. It was like this pressure cooker that was building, and I was just trying to get through my day. And when my boy was a toddler, I met a man, and then unfortunately he cheated on me, and that was the straw that broke the camel's back, as the saying goes. Everything came crashing down, and that pressure, it was like a pot of water that was boiling over. I pretty much had a breakdown, an emotional breakdown, and it wasn't pretty. It was incredibly emotional, and it also presented with lots of anger. I just wasn't coping at all. So I took myself off to see a counsellor. I spilled my guts to him, and his advice after that first session was that I just needed to park my thoughts. And I was like, how am I supposed to do that? Like, I don't know how I'm going to do that. He gave me no tools. He gave me no idea of how to do that. And I, at that point, realized that counseling probably wasn't for me. When I was pregnant with my boy, I had dabbled, well, I had done a course in hypnobirthing. So I was curious about hypnosis and the power of the mind at that stage. So that encouraged me to go and see a hypnotherapist, thinking that, well, I'm not going to lose anything from doing this. After a few sessions working with my hypnotherapist, I saw how transformational the modality was. And it gave me the tools and awareness of how powerful the mind is, and how only I could get myself back into that driver's seat and take charge of my mindset. So I was so impressed, I decided to get certified as a clinical hypnotherapist. And in 2019, I launched my own hypnotherapy business, Man to Mind Hypnotherapy. So hence how I've landed in this space. So I work with clients one-on-one, but this course captures some of my best tools and techniques for managing mindset, and it can complement a hypnotherapy program, or it can be really beneficial as a standalone course for someone who's never had coaching or hypnotherapy. So my intention through this course is to give you a little bit of information that's not overly complicated, and really offer you some practical tools that you can implement straight away so you can start controlling your mind. So everybody's got their own story. I've just given you a little bit about mine. I know everyone has different pressures or life challenges, no matter where you've come from, no matter who you are. And that's the life journey, right? I don't think anyone has a smooth journey in life. Obviously, some people have it worse than others. But how we respond to those situations is completely up to us. Now, we can respond or we can react. And, it's all ultimately choice. But in order to respond in a conscious way, we need to have a strategy to manage our mindset and keep our nervous system nice and calm and regulated as well. So it doesn't have to be hard or complicated, but it's just like training for your mind. You need to do it regularly. Like doing it once or twice isn't going to cut the mustard. So just like you would be if you were training for a marathon or going to a gym for optimum physical fitness, repetition and commitment is key. So it doesn't have to be all blood, sweat and tears. So that's the good news, right? So this program is going to give you a few options. You can try it out in the weeks between when you get the next recording, and you can choose to add it to your own personalized strategy. That's what you've signed up for. That's the journey we're going on together. It sounds good, hey? So today's focus is going to be looking at breathing properly. So I'm going to invite you now, just for a moment, to check in and notice if you're shallow breathing. So if you're just doing some short, shallow breathings up in your chest. And if you are, I want you to take a nice deep breath in, right down to your belly. And just notice any change in your physical body after you do a few of those. Move your neck, you can move your body. That's it. One of my very first signs of stress and anxiety as a teenager was the impact it had on my breathing. I wasn't taking a full breath, and that would cause me even more stress because I'd get quite tense about not being able to breathe properly. So my mum took me off to the doctor. She did the right thing, and the doctor did some assessment, and she decided to give me a ventilator, even though she had determined that I didn't have asthma. They didn't even know really what it was, but they gave me a ventilator. And as I said before, I was quite rebellious as a teenager. So I actually used it. I misused it because I knew it would give me a bit of a mind spin. So it had no effect really on the root cause of why I wasn't breathing properly. And on retrospect, as an adult, I can see that was because I was anxious and I had stress, and nobody had picked up on that. Not even me. So we're going to cover that as a first session today, breathing properly. It's so important. And like I said, today I'm just going to give you a couple of ideas, and over the next 5 weeks, we'll build on those. And what I tell you, some of it will resonate, some of it won't, but just be open to them and have a commitment to try a few and find what you like and add them to your strategy that you can commit to. So the repetition that you're doing in this over the next 5 weeks is literally changing your brain. You're creating new habits by creating new neural pathways in your brain. And the more you do it, the more those neurons fire. So there's a saying that is the neurons that fire together wire together. So repetition is critical to changing those habits, changing those behaviors. And just go easy on yourself, because at first it might feel a little bit uncomfortable, especially if you've never done anything like this before. You might be stepping right outside your comfort zone. But by just spending a few minutes each day implementing at least one of the tools from each week, you'll start noticing a difference in your body and your mind. But before we get into that session, I just want to do a really quick self-assessment with you. So you can use the handout that you would have received before this session, or you can have a notebook that you've personalized for your own journey. And I just want you to assess where you're currently at. So this is your current reality, all right? So think about your current reality of stress. And using a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being incredibly stressed, I want you to write down a really true representation of your stress levels. Okay, now I want you to do the same for your quality of sleep. So with 10 out of 10 being amazing restorative quality sleep that you're having. And obviously the opposite of that is having really crappy sleep. And then the final thing I want you to think about is if you could assess your mindset generally. So where would you be on a scale of 1 to 10? With 10 out of 10 being your mindset is amazing and everything is going so well. And the opposite of that being that you're struggling big time. So this is not to judge yourself in a negative way. It's just understanding where your baseline is, where your current reality is. And that's essential for seeing the growth that you're going to experience over the next 5 weeks. Okay, so now that you've done that, I want you to contemplate and also write down what your intention is for this particular session. What are you hoping to achieve? And what I'd like you to do is word that in a positive way. So don't write, I want to be less stressed. Your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between negative and positive. So it's really important to, if you do want to write that, just flip it over to what's the positive opposite of that. So for example, to feel more at ease in my body and mind. So I'll let you write that down. That's it. Fantastic. Intention is everything. So I'm going to be encouraging you to do that every single session. Okay, so the rest of the session is a recording from a live session I did last year. All right, so in the worksheet that you would have received, you've got a space for writing your 3 key takeaways, the insights that really resonated to you as you listen to the rest of the recording. And it also has space for adding 3 tools or techniques that you're committed to as part of your own strategy for next week. Now, it might be that you don't put 3 in there. It might just be that you create your own. Right down at the bottom of the worksheet, there's space for you to write your intention for the week ahead. So as I said, intention's everything. Keep it all positive. And I'm going to encourage you to use the wording, I choose the end result of. So what's your vision for your mindset, your emotional, mental, overall well-being? And you can write that up at the end of your session. Okay. So now that you're aware of what that worksheet is for, I'm going to bring our focus back to today's session, which is breathing. And let's get into that. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen with you now. I thought I could do that while I'm off, not recording. Let's see if I can open that up. It's saying that it's paused. Might have to do that on a smaller screen. Oh. Okay. One second. Okay. Hopefully you can see that now. And I'll just click play. Breathing aspect. So often we are shallow breathing. We're breathing right up here. We've got our shoulders hunched up and we're not taking a full breath. And that has a lot of implications. So I just want you to notice again, just notice where you're at. And now take a nice deep breath into your belly. So nobody can see you, nobody can hear you. And when you do that, one of the things that I recommend to people is just breathing through your nose firstly, but breathing out your mouth. And if no one's around and you feel comfortable to do so, just when you breathe out, just really let it out like a balloon deflating. And when you're tuning into your breath, there's so many benefits. And one of them is actually just being mindful. So often we go through life and we're mindless. We're not really tuned into the here and now. But what you just did then, checking in with your body and checking in with your breath, coming back to your physical, is being mindful in that moment, which is a real benefit from getting out of the busyness of the day-to-day stuff. So, and also taking a deep breath, even when you don't feel stressed, is a known stress reliever. It can just allow your body to release any tension that you're holding. As I said, you might find your shoulders up and your chest is tight, and taking a deep breath forces you just to let that go. And you might even want to add an affirmation in when you are doing that mindful breath of, just letting any tension go in your body. All righty. So when you are breathing, I just would invite you as well, just to imagine, just picturing your lungs expanding with that oxygenating breath, because that's exactly what's happening. The oxygen is coming in through your body and going through and feeding your organs, and really allowing those body processes, your brain, your organs, to be functioning at their optimum. So it's really important. When I wake up in the morning, I take a few mindful deep breaths and get the oxygen right in me, and get some sunlight as well. I'll go outside and expose my eyes to sun. And even if I'm feeling tired, that is a great way to start the day. I'm going to talk a lot about sunlight on your eyes at the end of the session. But if you are struggling with lethargy, they're just a couple of techniques that can really help you kickstart your day. So I've spoken about being mindful and taking that conscious, intentional breath when you're feeling stressed, or just, whenever you feel that you need to just check in with your body. For me, as I said, in the mornings is the time that I'll take some mindful breaths, but also at key points of my day. So as I said, I work for the police generally. So 4 days a week, I go into the police station. And as soon as I get in, as soon as I sit down, I close my eyes down, I take a nice deep breath and really ground myself in the moment. And it's like a transition, that I've gone from a busy morning with my boy, I've dropped him at school. And often actually that's when I'll take a breath as well. When I get in the car, I'm like, okay, off to work, sit in my chair at work, take a nice deep breath and breathe out, and really be in the moment. So it's a lot about present moment awareness, as well as feeding your body with that beautiful oxygenating breath. So, there's all these physical benefits. You're oxygenating your blood, which obviously is helping all your organs. It's great for your skin. It's great for tension and just releasing any tension. And the more we do this consciously, the easier it is. So often, as I said, we get into a habit of not doing this. So habits are easy to break. That's the positive. We can form habits, but we can also, through mindfulness and consciousness, can break those habits as well. So my recommendation to you is just to spend some time consciously breathing, rhythmically and consciously, and getting that breath right down into your belly. And if you need to, you can put one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly. And that can also just relax your nervous system if you are feeling a little bit stressed, and just notice the tummy lifting. And when you're breathing out, notice the shift in your physical body. So the other thing I want to talk about is, often for me, my breathing techniques come in when I'm quite stressed. And so I'm going to take you through a tool in a moment. But if you are noticing that you are feeling tension or stress, so perhaps the kids are working you up, or perhaps you're about to go into a meeting at work and you've got to present, you might have noticed how your heart rate quickens, how your skin gets flushed, how your voice changes. There's all these physical indicators that you've actually gone into a sympathetic nervous system response. I'm going to talk a little bit about that now. I'm not going to go too much into detail, but I think it's really important to know that we've got this stress, response that we have, and it's responding to threat. But the thing is that threat in our modern age isn't the tiger chasing us. It's the kids screaming at us. It's the pressure that you've got to go in and present something complex to a bunch of people. It could be a conversation about conflict that you're going to have with your loved one. It causes stress, and we still have that sympathetic nervous system response of all of the physical. And, often we can then get into situations where we're reacting rather than responding. So we've got the fight response. We might have the freeze response, where we might just not be able to even say anything or just not know what to do in the moment. Or you might have the flight response, where you just go just like, I'm out of here. I'm not going to deal with this. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to disconnect. And obviously that's not helpful. It might be helpful for being chased by a tiger back in the day, but it doesn't help when we're dealing with stress to be in that state. And what we're finding is that a lot of people are constantly in that sympathetic nervous system state, and it's causing a whole range of issues like gut issues, immune system responses, and inflammation in the body. There's so many things that are coming into the physical realm now that are actually caused by people being constantly in the sympathetic nervous system response. So I'm going to take you through a breathing technique. If you notice that you are in that response state, this breathing technique will get you into the parasympathetic nervous system response. Now, we need both. It's not that one is bad and one is good. It's just that we need balance. I had a beautiful analogy the other day that the sympathetic is like the gas and the parasympathetic is like the brake. So you can't always have the gas on, right? Because you just get overwhelmed and you get adrenal fatigue and a whole range of situations. But we obviously need it in certain points of our life. But we've also got to be in that parasympathetic nervous response as well. So I remember these by S for stress, and parasympathetic is peace. So we want the peace because it's the calming, composed states, rest and digest. And as I said, a lot of people will present with gut issues because they're not able to digest. Their blood is flowing to their brain and to their extremities to run away and deal with the stress. So, if we don't make this a priority, often, unfortunately, there's physical symptoms and sometimes really serious physical situations for people. And that's that crisis situation that I spoke about earlier, that often we'll try and get medical help for, but the reality is that we have to actually make some changes to our lifestyle and how we manage our mind and the challenges in life. So we don't want people to be in a constant state of stress and overwhelm. So as I said, I've got this amazing tool that I want to be able to teach you. And it might sound a little bit overwhelming at first, but with a bit of practice, you can totally get this and implement it straight away. I use it all the time when I go into meetings with the big police bosses. So sometimes I'll have to go in and present about, a situation, and I can feel all my symptoms come up. And I do this technique and it shifts me straight into a nice, relaxed situation. If I'm sitting in the room and I start feeling nervous again, I implement it. Nobody can see that you're doing it. And the other beautiful thing about this particular tool is it's great for sleeping. So if you're struggling to get to sleep at night, I would also recommend that you implement it then. Okay. So this tool is called the 4-7-8 technique. And I'm going to talk you through it, and then I'm going to go through it with you so you can follow me. If you have trouble following me, that's all good. Some people, struggle a little bit with it, but I've got a video that I can send to you after this and you can follow it then. Alrighty. So the 4-7-8 technique is simply, we start with a neutral. So you release all the air from your lungs. You put your tongue to the top of your mouth, And then we're going to breathe in through our nose for 4 seconds. We're going to hold the breath for 7 seconds, and then we're going to breathe out slowly for 8 seconds. So the key here is to breathe out longer than we breathed in. All right. And that is what shifts you from the sympathetic nervous system response to the parasympathetic nervous system response. So I would recommend that we do 4 cycles of that. And then you can have a bit of a break and do it again. But I'll take you through 1 round of it just so that you can feel those sensations in your body. You can feel the relaxation kicking in. All right. And again, if you can't follow along, don't stress. I don't want this to cause you any more tension than what you might be experiencing at the moment. All righty. So here we go, the 4-7-8 breathing technique. So start with the neutral, tongue to the top of your mouth, breathing in for 4, holding, and out through your mouth for 8 seconds. So it's like a balloon deflating. Breathing in for 4, holding the breath, out through the mouth for 8 seconds. Again, breathing in for 4, holding the breath, and out through your mouth. Do it one more time, breathing in for 4, and holding the breath, and out through your mouth. And just returning to your normal breathing state. Now that might have made you a little bit lightheaded, and that's okay. That just means the oxygen is flowing through your body and going to your mind. But just notice where you're at. If you're feeling a little bit less tension in your body and your mind. Like I said, that is my go-to, and it's something that I do every day. I make it a practice, but I always do it when I'm feeling stressed. So if my son, for instance, starts triggering me and I notice that tension in my body, I either take a nice mindful deep breath or I go into that 4-7-8 breathing technique if I'm feeling a little bit rocky. So I really love that. I totally recommend it. I tell my clients, my hypnotherapy clients, this is one of the tools that they must implement because it really does help. And the more you practice it, the easier it is to return to that nice, calm, composed state. So we're really changing habits here. So practice is imperative to do that. And the commitment, do you want something different? You've turned up here, so obviously you do. So this is a really easy tool to implement. So, noticing your body, noticing the tension is the first thing. Having some tools, whether it's taking a deep breath or doing this 4-7-8 breathing technique, is a really great way to help manage your mindset. Alrighty, I'm going to go on to the next screen. The other thing that you can do is find these really cool syncing your breathing with this. I love this. So I'm just going to leave this up for a moment. So breathing in and breathing out. Inhaling and gentle exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. So you can find these right through the internet. Some people prefer them because they're visual and they allow you just to focus on that. And by doing that, you can just slow your heart rate down a little bit and just check in with your body. So often we're in here, and that's why we're going to cover thoughts next week, because, we do need to be in here, but often coming back and checking in with our body, because our body's always giving us signs like tension, like, unfortunately, ailments that are telling us, screaming at us really, that we have to do something to allow time and space to come back into our bodies. All righty, so I'm just going to go on. So the other aspect that I like is imagining breathing in a color, and that's how we're going to end today. I'm going to take you through just a little mindfulness meditation that incorporates noticing your breath, noticing your body, and just imagining breathing in a color, because often that helps people focus. So with that, I'm going to invite you just to close your eyes down for the moment. When you have your eyes closed, it just shuts out some of that information. As I said before, we've got so much information that we are being exposed to. So closing one of our senses off just allows a disconnect with all of that visual information we're getting. And just tuning into your body now. And just noticing any tension in your body. Noticing if your shoulders are up and just allowing them to drop down now. Allowing your jaw just to drop away and releasing any tension in your jaw. And taking a nice mindful breath in and breathing out through your mouth slowly. And again, just using your imagination, I want you to imagine your favorite calming color, whatever that might be. For me, it's like the ocean color, beautiful blues and greens. And imagine breathing in that color now. And imagine that color just gently flowing through your body, going right to the top of your head. And just like a beautiful, gentle wave, every time you're breathing out, coming out of your body. And you might even want to imagine being surrounded by a beautiful bubble of this light, nice and safe, secure, calm. And every time you take a beautiful, deep, oxygenating breath in, you're breathing in this calm, serene, and peaceful color. And you might even want to imagine that that color just gently shifts any tension in your body. And again, just using your imagination, that tension might be seen as a dark color, just gently coming out your feet and your hands and drifting further and further away from you and being replaced by this beautiful, calming light with every gentle breath you take. And once that darkness has completely disappeared, all you can see is this cycling of beautiful, calming light going through your body, just washing away anything you don't need, anything you don't want, and calming every cell, every muscle, every fiber, calming, soothing, relaxing, nurturing. And you can create whatever you want from this bubble of light. You can draw in any positive resource that you need. You can imagine that there's confidence coming in, that there's inner peace, there's clarity, focus. can imagine whatever you want with this beautiful bubble of light. And when you're feeling nice and peaceful, you can open your eyes. And every time you close your eyes down, imagine that color today, or every time you see that color, it's just going to bring you back to this nice, calm, relaxing space. So it doesn't have to be complicated. It's one of those things that I could go into all the technicalities of breath work, but for me and managing my mindset, it's really about doing something that's simple and not overthinking it and not judging myself when I don't do it or if I don't do it right. The key is actually committing to it and doing it. So find yourself a simple strategy that works for you. Hopefully I've given you a couple of options today, and just think about which one suits you and what you can implement in the next week, and do that at least once a day. Okay. Hopefully that transmitted well for you. So that was a little while ago, and it's still something that I still use the 4-7-8 technique. I still use my imagination to work myself into a nice, calm and content state, using my breath and just connecting back into the here and now. And it's worthwhile repeating over and over and practicing, because it definitely does work. And oftentimes, like I said, I've got all the tools. I've got a whole range of techniques at my disposal, but sometimes it's just that regular checking in. Do I feel tense? Even when I was listening to that on the way, my jaw was quite tense, and so being mindful of that, and then just dropping my jaw, dropping my shoulders, and taking a nice deep breath and just being really present just shifts that tension in my body. So I hope you found that really helpful, and that you can implement one or all three of those aspects in. The other tools that I haven't shared in that session, I have also put in to a program that I ran earlier this year called Feel Good Friday. I started it as Feel Good February, but I'm in the process of putting that online, and it will be free and available to you. And again, they're just little things that you can implement. So, for instance, just rubbing your hands like this and syncing your breathing, and feeling back in the here and now. Or if you've got a ball, ones are not in reach, but just passing a ball from each hand and syncing your breathing with that. There's a whole range of things that you can do. Similarly, havening, rubbing up and down your arms and breathing to that. So there's lots I could take you through, but I don't want to overcomplicate it. Just pick one or two or three that you want going to be implementing over the next week, and see where you're at. So thank you again for tuning in. Please practice what resonates. Disregard what doesn't. You can adapt it if you need to. Fill out your worksheet, and know that you don't have to write down everything from this session either. So I'll be sharing a cheat sheet with you later on tonight, and I'll be doing that every week. So you'll get the worksheet prior to the session. I'll send you a cheat sheet with some keynotes from what I've spoken about, and then you'll obviously get the recording on Fridays as well. So on that note, have a great day wherever you are in the world, and enjoy breathing properly, or better. Thanks for tuning in.